I've been making guides recently on where to find those harder to find items within Escape from Tarkov, and you guys seem to love them. You liked the graphics card ones, you loved the phased array element one, and you guys keep asking me in the comments to make one on fuel, because let's be real, fuel's gone up in price more than anything, and it's insanely expensive. If you want to buy a metal fuel can, then that'll cost you about 600,000 on the flea market at the time of this recording, if you can't buy it from Jaeger, and let's be real, you can never buy it from Jaeger. And if you want to buy an Expeditionary fuel tank, the little blue one, then that's about 400 grand. So, how do you get your fuel? Well, there's tons of spawns on a ton of different maps that you can go to. You can go to it on a PMC or a scav, so I'm going to be showing you all of the spawn locations that I go to get fuel, and of course you can craft it and do some other things which I'll mention later on in this video. The first map location that I want to talk to you about is Interchange. This is where I go most commonly to get my fuel, and the reason is they spawn in quite a few locations quite commonly. Our first location is actually outside the shopping mall itself. We're at the back end of Goshen, and this is the road that goes along the back of the mall. It takes you from Power to the Emacom checkpoint. We're about midway down by the fuel container that you need to mark for the quest, and around this area also is an extract. It's called Hole in the Fence extract, and you can access it as long as you don't have a backpack. It's just over in this left corner here amongst the shipping containers. But we're here because there's also a bunch of fuel containers scattered around this area as well. As you can see, this one says OP Fuel Co, and all of these barrels that say OP Fuel Co, or these ones over here by this red container, actually has a chance to spawn fuel. More specifically, you can find them most commonly over right next to the extract, so they can be on top or around these barrels. You can find both the Expeditionary fuel tanks and the metal fuel cans here as well, so make sure you're keeping a lookout for this. This next area on the Interchange map is probably the most common way of finding fuel, however it's probably the most common way that you'll be getting shot in the arse by other players as well, so bear that in mind. We're in the Ollie Superstore and a bunch of fuel can spawn here. It's very simple, all you gotta do is go around and search pretty much everything. Mainly go to the back of the Ollie Superstore, and then these green and white shelves, these big ones here, check wherever there is a gap on these. You can check these, and wherever there's a gap where there isn't boxes or junk on there can be a fuel spawn. So you're going to check everywhere and on every shelf around the Ollie Superstore. And it's not always that you're going to find one very easily. You could find other things. You can find water filters, which also fetch a pretty penny. You can find propane, which could be used to craft fuel. You can find a bunch of different things. Also check these brown shelving units over here as well. These also have a chance of spawning fuel, so it's a good chance that you might find them sitting around here. Check these smaller green and silver shelves as well, because you can find propane and fuel on these as well. But you're mainly going to want to check everything in this store. It's not like a specific area in Ollie that spawns fuel. You'll just find it hidden around inside Ollie somewhere. So you just need to keep wits about you. Make sure you got a flashlight if you can, because it makes it a lot easier to see, especially at the back of Ollie. And just check every single shelf that you come across. Everywhere where there's a gap, fuel can be, so you need to keep your eyes open. And there we go, there's our first fuel, and as you just saw there, it pops in quite late, so you do need to actually get quite close to these shelves in order for it to actually pop in and you to see it. But make sure you're checking these pallets as well, because as you can see we can find motors here, but fuel can also spawn on there. You're basically checking this whole store. I would mainly check the actual main bit of Ollie. I wouldn't worry too much about going into the arse end of it. Sure, you can find more propane on these shelving units here for your crafting, but I've never seen fuel actually spawn out back here. So you can find propane if you need it, but I wouldn't bother checking here for fuel, just check the main Ollie store. The last location that I would check inside Interchange is actually around the middle area of the Interchange Mall. You can see you've got Mantis there, Brutal there, and the National, which is actually the shop that we need to go in. So inside the National, you'll notice that it's got a bunch of different things in here, a bunch of different shelving units and everything like that. But you'll notice that there's one shelving set familiar to the Ollie store. These green and silver ones actually all have a chance of spawning fuel, so you need to check. They mainly spawn on the bottom, but they can spawn on the middle shelves as well. So make sure you're checking all of the green ones that are reminiscent to the Ollie store, because they can spawn on these shelves. So as you can see, it's not just fuel that you can find on here, you can find tool sets and hand drills and stuff like that. So these shelves inside the National have a chance of spawning fuel, but everywhere else, don't bother looking. If you're looking for fuel in the store, just check the green shelves. Woods is another map to get a couple of fuel spawns, and they're located in both bunkers on the Woods map, ZB14 and ZB16. The first one we're going to check is ZB14. It's found just off of the road that leads past Scav House to Extract, all the way up past the checkpoint and into Lumber. So if you come down this road and right by this abandoned SUV and this ditch with the metal thing in it, come off of the road and head towards the outer wall here, and keep running, and you'll see that the wall gets broken by a few boulders and rocks, and in those boulders and rocks you'll see the bunker itself, ZB14. This is an extract and you need the ZB14 key to actually extract here, and the extract isn't always open. The green smoke indicates if it is, so this is another good indicator to actually find the bunker if the extract's available, because the smoke is quite bright. So going down into the bunker, as soon as you get down in here, turn and look immediately to your left. Fuel can spawn right next to these fuel containers here, but instead we got a water filter and a motor. I'm not complaining. And then it could also be found anywhere along this floor and also inside by the extract itself. Obviously I forgot my ZB14 key, but as you can see, if I wasn't so stupid, I would have been able to pick up some Expeditionary fuel just sitting there inside of the green smoke. The next spawn on the Woods map is ZB16. Now we are halfway in between the red row house, or whatever you call it, it's the scav extract just over there, and we are heading into the woodland at about a 300-degree bearing. If you keep on that 300-degree bearing and go into the woodland, go through the trees and over a few hills, you will start to see the green smoke of ZB16 if it's open. But you'll see it nice and easy. It's just a flat bit of concrete, and you'll see some stairs going down. If you head on that 300-degree bearing, go down into the bunker, and just like ZB14, it can be found all over the floor. As you can see, as soon as I turned to the left, we found a fuel nice and easy, and this one doesn't actually require a key, so it's also good that you can check in here and see if fuel can be found in here as well before you actually extract. The next map we're going to check is Customs. Now, if it wasn't for a friend on Discord telling me some of these spawns, then I would have had no clue. So not only doing the research for this video expanded my knowledge, but I hope this video expands yours as well, because there are quite a few spawn locations for fuel that I had no idea about. We're starting over on boiler side of the Customs map though, right by the extract, and just to the left of the extract is our first building we're going to loot. If we go inside this building, you'll see that straight ahead of you and all around the first floor of this room are fuel cans. On top or around any of these fuel cans, fuel can actually spawn, so keep an eye out in here. Once you've checked this room, you want to go out the other door and you'll be right by the boilers. And then you'll see over into the left there is that long office with the green screen room in it. We're going to go into that office in there and go up to the green screen room. So go inside and then we go up those stairs into that doorway. So up the metal stairs, and then we'll be in the green screen room. People come here quite a bit, so this may be a little bit of a hotspot for PvP because graphics cards can spawn here and on the green screen. But you'll see that there's a chair with some writing next to it right at the back of this green screen room, and then just to the right side of that chair, a doorway. Inside of this doorway there is a ton of fuel spawns that can spawn around the fuel barrels, or all the way at the back here you can see on the bottom shelf there's actually a fuel spawn as well as a water filter right there. So that's not a bad place to check, and it's pretty hidden away considering it kind of blends in with the non-lootable fuel cans that you can find in here as well. Our next common fuel location on Customs is actually right by the stronghold in the new Customs expansion area. We're on the train tracks right at the back, and just before we head down into the stronghold where a few fuel spawns actually are, we're going to go off of this train track as if we were heading towards the stronghold but turn left instead. You'll see this rusted fuel container here and a couple of generators. Actually, at the front of this rusted fuel container, there's actually a fuel spawn by these green barrels. So as you can see, we got our fuel and it's nice and good and hidden away there. So not everyone checks here. I always check here because it's a good chance for fuel to spawn. But other than that, we're going to head straight into the stronghold. We're going to go in the arse end of it over here, and we're going to head all the way to the other end once we've entered it. So we're going to go all the way to the end, past this truck, and then just past the truck we'll see another generator sitting around in the middle left side of the stronghold. And at the front of this generator, fuel can spawn. Next to the tire as well, fuel can spawn. But other than that, we're going to go past the generator into this back room here, and straight ahead of you, some wooden shelves. And on the bottom shelf and the middle shelf of these wooden shelves, fuel can actually spawn. So keep a lookout here. There's also a medical supply container here if you do want to loot it. But this is quite a hot spot for PvP, so be aware when you're looting around here. The last spawn that I check on the customs map for fuel is actually in the corner of Elbow. You can see the hole in the walls just over there, and then the old constructions there, and then just above that is where Sniper Scav sits. If you're looking at the building where Sniper Scav sits on top of, look and then turn right and follow this building along. You'll see an open door next to some metal doors there. You're going to want to go through the open door right in the corner of the Elbow, and then go up the metal stairs right in front of this doorway. At the top of these stairs is a bunch of insulation wrapped up, and on top of this insulation here, Expeditionary fuel can spawn on it. I've never seen metal fuel cans spawn here, just Expeditionary fuel, but fuel's fuel, right? It's all going to be so fucking expensive, you might as well pick up what you can. The last map that I'm going to be covering in today's video is going to be Reserve. I'm sorry, Reserve, I don't like it, but there are a few fuel spawns in this map that make it worth your while. So we're in the night area. Over there is Black Knight, and over there with the Russian flag outside the front door is White Knight. We're actually going to head to the front door of Black Knight, and then just before you get into the front door, you'll see a small generator, and by the green bent up barrel is actually a fuel spawn. Then, but if we don't go inside of Black Knight and we head our way along to the right side of it, we'll see an actual gas station inside of this night area. You want to check around the gas pump with the knocked over blue barrel as well as the tire. You want to check around this area because fuel can spawn in here. And then if we move further around the night area, we'll see one more sort of garage area with a lone little minivan in there. We're going to go inside here, check on this wooden pallet inside of this location because fuel can spawn in that. You're also going to want to check around on pretty much every pallet you see because fuel can spawn there too. And down on this underground bit next to this generator, fuel can spawn next to that generator. And then of course if you go into the back rooms and then take a right through another metal door, we are going to find a bunch of metal shelves, and fuel can spawn on these metal shelves. Then our final spot on the night area in Reserve is this large garage here next to White Knight. We're going to go inside of this garage here, and basically you're going to want to check next to every little barrel of fuel in this area because fuel can spawn all around every generator, every barrel. It's quite a little hiding spot for them, so you're going to want to check quite closely around everything that you can because fuel can spawn pretty much anywhere in this location. Our next spot on the Reserve map is actually right up by the dome. Once you're up here, you're going to want to go into the bottom floor of the dome building, and then once you're through the door, go through the other door, and then you'll be greeted by some metal barricades. On the other side of the metal barricades, you can see a generator poking out. That's where you're actually going to want to head to, so follow it around in a U shape, and you'll be at the other side of these metal barriers. And then as you can see, just right by the generator, fuel can spawn right by this generator here. So it's worth checking when you're up here, especially because I've only seen the metal fuel cans up here, I haven't seen Expeditionary ones. That can power your hideout for a whole day, and that's a pretty good find. Especially because if you have a Red Rebel, you can get out just by going to the back end of the dome building. The last location that I'm going to talk to you about on the Reserve map is actually quite close to the D2 extract. So to navigate easily, I'm going to talk you through from the D2 extract itself. So you're going to go back the way you came and through the corridors as if you were going away from the D2 extract, go past all of these server cabinets and go up the stairs. And it's basically taking the opposite route that you would take if you were going to the extract. So once you get into your first big circular tunnel here with all the server cabinets and the Asus spawns, you're going to want to turn right and go down this small corridor. Once you've gone down this small corridor, you'll be greeted with another massive circular tunnel, and in this tunnel you'll be walking across some wooden planks. To the left of these wooden planks you'll see a bunch of spawns that you can pick up, like there's tubes there, but fuel can also spawn in between these red support beams, so make sure you're checking in here quite thoroughly as you walk past. And of course, if you're going to the D2 extract, you can check this as you're passing, and you might be able to pick up a bit of fuel before you leave. It's not only specific loot spawns on the maps that will net you some fuel though, you do have a chance of finding it in a bunch of different locations. You can find it in sports bags, on dead scavs, or in technical supply crates around the reserve map and the woods expansion. But my most favourite way of finding fuel is actually by looting stashes. You can find stashes over a bunch of maps, and there's a few personal favourite stash runs that I like running. I like running to 28 of them on a wood scav run. You usually find quite a bit of loot there, but there's also a quick one that you can do on an interchange scav where you can loot 8 stashes in a matter of 5 minutes. I'm going to link both stash videos that I've made in the video description for you guys if you want to check specific locations for stashes on the woods and interchange map, and then you can go and loot that whether you're a scav, whether you're a PMC, it doesn't matter, you can loot stashes and find fuel that way. Now of course there's other ways to go about getting fuel other than going into raid and finding it. For example, you can craft expeditionary fuel in the hideout as long as you have the lavatory at least level 2. If you go into lavatory, you'll be able to see that you can craft an expeditionary fuel for 10 Zippo lighters and 10 Cricket lighters. These lighters go for about 15k each, and the Zippo lighters go for about 20k each, and because you need about 20 of them, you'll be looking to spend about 350 grand for one of these fuels, and it takes an hour to craft them. So this is basically the same as just buying fuel itself, which is not ideal, but say fuel gets slightly more expensive on the flea market and this stays around 350k, you can then warrant whether it's worth doing or whether it's not. There's also a couple of trades that you can do at low level traders to get yourself some fuel. You can get some metal fuel cans by trading with Jaeger at loyalty level 1, 12 classic matches and 5 hunter matches. Now this is going to be more expensive than buying fuel itself from Jaeger, but this sells out faster than anything. So at loyalty level 1 Jaeger, actually giving a trade for fuel is actually quite good also. Now matches, they are going up in price as anything that you need to either craft fuel or trade fuel, but this is still cheaper than buying 600 grand worth of fuel off at the flea market. So if you were to go to the flea market and look for some classic matches, you've got them selling for around 16 to 20,000 each. So that is 240,000 roughly for 12 of these classic matches. Then you need hunter matches, and they're about 10 grand each roughly, and you need 5 of them, so that is 290 grand in total worth of items to trade and get a full metal fuel can. Another trade that you have is Prapor at loyalty level 2. You can trade 2 propane tanks and 1 fuel conditioner. Now a fuel conditioner on the flea market goes for about 50 grand each, you only need 1 of them, and then you need a propane tank and they go for about 150 grand each, and they are rising slowly. But if you remember back to the interchange map and when we was looking around Ollie, look how easy it was for me to find propane tanks. So I recommend maybe farming them as well, and you'll be able to get this trade pretty darn easily. And anyway, even if you did pay 150 grand each for a propane tank, then it still will be cheaper than actually buying the fuel itself. If we were to buy an actual metal fuel can on the flea market, they're 600 grand on their own. You can also go to Therapist loyalty level 2 and trade for some expeditionary fuel. For this trade you need 4 pineapple juices and 1 purified water, also known as super water. So this is actually quite an expensive trade, but it'll still be cheaper than actually just buying fuel off the flea market. Each pineapple juice usually goes for about 40 grand each, however it can reach highs of 80 grand each, which is not what you want at all. The actual purified water goes for about 140 to 150 grand, which is still quite high. If you combine the average of 40 grand per pineapple juice and 150 grand for purified water, you'd be looking at roughly about 310,000 in total for this trade, which, like I said, is cheaper than the fuel itself, but still stupidly expensive. Other than everything that I've mentioned in today's video, of course you have a chance of finding it randomly, as I mentioned, in caches, or you can even go to your scav case in your hideout and have a chance of finding fuel there. But other than that, guys, I may have missed some things when I was talking about loot spawns in certain maps. I know maps pretty well, but I may have missed some spawns that I've never seen before. So you guys should let me know down below in the comments if I've missed anything. But other than that, thank you so much for watching this video. Your support has been incredible lately, I do appreciate it. So leave a like on this video if you did enjoy, and subscribe for future guides like this. But thank you so much for watching, I'll see you soon. Goodbye. If any of you guys are interested in playing demanding games like Tarkov but are struggling with the performance, why not check out Shadow? Shadow's a cloud gaming subscription service that allows you to access a Windows desktop client with the top of the range hardware located at your nearest data center. Shadow is a service that I still use all the time. Anytime I'm out of the office and need to edit a video or record some footage, Shadow is perfect. They're a company that I really enjoy working with, and they're ideal for anyone who travels a lot or just someone that can't afford a super high powered PC. Shadow's got many people covered as long as you've got a relatively decent internet connection. If you wanted to check Shadow out, then there's a link below that you can go and do your research and find out more about their services. And if you do decide to subscribe to Shadow, then you can use my code Samosh and you'll save yourself some money, which is always worthwhile. I'd like to thank you once again for making it to this point in this video. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.